Steal.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Good morning, good people. Welcome to AZ Sports Live, presented by the Cochran Firm and Boston Scientific. We stream it live on YouTube and Facebook, and of course, I am your host, Will Skywalker. Steele. Boom! It's time to turn that page to talk about a part of the offseason that we just have no fun with, man. We could never really partake in and get excited about, but it is a part of the football discussion. I'm talking about free agency. I thought it was only fitting that we begin with a position that was one of the most talked about positions before the season, during the season, and now will be after the season. But I don't think they're going to get their hands dirty like we think. So I've got 3 Catboy criteria fits. If you don't know what the Catboy criteria is, I will explain that later on in the show. And I understand it's Valentine's Day, it's Love Day, but a lot of Cowboys Nation they're not going to love these options, and that's because when you have the de facto general manager of Stephen Jones, you aren't going to really get those type of guys. Now, this free agent class this season for wide receivers, it's not jam-packed anyway, but there are a certain amount of guys that fans are adoring. But when you go look at that market value, you might as well eliminate that playboy. That's not happening here in Dallas. And we'll talk about a few of those because I'm sure it'll pop up here in the chat. But I got 3 guys, 1, 2, 3, that are not only just Catboy criteria fits, but also one of them at the very least, I think will fit what Mike McCarthy historically has done throughout his career in regards to drafting guys. So make sure y'all stick around for that. Cowboys Nation, what's up with y'all, Bomb Squad?
Bomb Squad!
Good morning, good morning, good morning. How we feeling? Y'all still feeling good from that loss from the Eagles? I mean, I haven't really watched all the letter networks and whatnot, but I'd imagine Cowboys Nation is still, poking fun at the Eagle fans. I seen it on Twitter at the very least, and boy, those Eagle fans are pissed off, absolutely pissed off this week, which they should be. They took an L in the Super Bowl, but I ain't mad at him. But what's up, DA? What's up, Jameson, Tyrone, Toxic Tom, Stink, Toxic, Hallelujah, Stinking Toxic, got you. Hallelujah, Jose in the building, Cautious, Optimistic, Colin. See, Toxic, you got so many people doing the name thing here. You're a trendsetter, sir. Nicholas P, L, that's my guy L. What's good, brother? Cautious, Optimistic, Danny Savage, Gregory in the building, Jameson, Tyrone, Marcus Hardison was goody. Peter Rizzo over on Facebook, Alpha Mason, Towboat Tie, who else? Iceberg Q, and then many more coming through. What's up, Zach over on Facebook as well, Zach Bush and John Garcia. Y'all couldn't hear the music? Interesting. Can y'all hear that music? That's what happens when you don't got the ESPN money. What's up, CJ? What's up, Cowboys up north? Who else? F Word Montgomery, and then many more coming through. So let me see here. All right, there's music playing out in the background, but y'all couldn't hear the music before. I don't know what's good with the wait music. Not really sure. I'm gonna have to see what's up with that and figure that out once I get through the show. But let's jump into this roundup. Get to the meat and potatoes of the show. Shouldn't be that long. If you want to call in, you can. 351-999-3787 is the call-in line. And let's go.
It's time! It's time! It's time! It's time!
It's time.
It is time for.
It's time for the morning roundup. Round 'em up, boys.
Oh, they do it. Hey, oh, they do it.
Hey, yo. I just feel bad for our players. they're all out here recruiting these dudes, speaking up, trying to get guys over here, legit guys. And you just know Jerry and Steven are like, whatever. But Micah Parsons is trying his hardest. He's not only recruiting Calais Campbell, that's the latest guy that he talked about, but he's also has recruited Deron Payne. And when I say recruit, I mean he mentioned him at the very least. He spoke with PFT and he said, quote, "We've got to go after free agency." I think he's starting to see other teams and how they're attacking. He says, "You've got to spend the money. Why not spend it? I think we got a chance. I think we could be in Vegas next year." And then he talked about specific player and he said, "I like Deron Payne a lot." We talked about Deron Payne last week. Once we get to the DTs, he'll be one of those guys where he doesn't fit the Catboy criteria, but he's one of those guys where we wish, we hope, we would love to sign. The other guy was Calais Campbell, a guy that I featured last year in our Catboy criteria, as well as our play the general manager game. If y'all remember that, he was a guy that I was like, hey, let's sign him and still draft the dude. Calais Campbell's still going. I don't know how, but he's still doing it. He's up there in age, playing a bunch of one-year deals. One of those veterans, Walter Payton Man of the Year winners. Respected around the league, on the field and off, will be great in the locker room. I've been a big Calais Campbell fan this whole entire career, so I'm biased. I know he's older. Would love to have him. Clearly so with Micah Parsons. Find it interesting, though. He's recruiting defensive tackles. Wants to keep himself clean if he's playing linebacker or dedicate some attention to the middle of the field, a position the Cowboys tend to ignore when it comes to free agency and the draft. So, it's one of those positions, man, that I don't put a lot of stock in the Cowboys actually featuring in free agency, but it's good to see Micah Parsons at least try to put some pressure on the front office. But he ain't the only one. CeeDee Lamb also spoke up, not once, but twice, about adding more weapons. He said, quote, we've just got to focus. Now, come on, CD. We've just got to, of course, add more weapons. He told Cameron Wolf of NFL Network. He said, "I feel like in that situation, you can always be better. There's never enough. You can never have enough ammo." And then obviously you had Diggs telling Cowboys Nation to rally to go get his brother. Now that's more of a little brotherly love. But nonetheless, man, people are speaking up. The players are speaking up, trying to get some guys here. Now, will that fall on deaf ears? Likely. Most likely. Because the Cowboys seem to be dug in on how they want to operate in free agency. And it just doesn't seem like anything is going to change their mind, no matter if they see their, rivals go to the Super Bowl, if they see their NFC compadres do the same things and win the Super Bowl, if they see the AFC teams doing similar things and winning and getting to the Super Bowl. They just seem to be dug in their own ways. That sucks for us. But from a content standpoint, I don't like to steer you guys in the wrong direction. So when we talk about free agency, I like to talk about free agency as much in a more realistic way as possible. Like, I'm going to talk about the guys I would love to have if it fits in that realistic realm. But for the most part, we understand the Cowboys are not going to go after those top dudes. However, the wide receiver position doesn't have a whole lot of those top guys. Not in free agency this year. No sirree, Bob. And to give you a hint on my three guys that I'm going to talk about later, one of them is not Odell Beckham. It's not. Now, I know they said they're going to circle that block and come back to Odell Beckham. And, hey, they may eventually sign Odell Beckham. I'm not saying they won't do it. But I'm pretty sure if he comes above a certain number, and it don't got to be a high one, I'm talking like $6-7 million, there's a high chance that they just pass on Odell Beckham. Because we talked about this last season, and maybe I should have brought this graphic back up. There is a number they have, man. The high-end number since Brandon Carr is about $6 million. That's about the highest they have been willing to go. And that was Allen Hurns. They haven't paid anybody $6 million in free agency since Allen Hurns in 2018. $6 million is not a lot of money. But it's a lot of money for us, but it's not a lot of cap. Let me say that. But if Odell Beckham is creeping past that, we're talking about 8, 9, 10, 11, $12 million, you can forget about it. You can forget about it. And honestly, I don't even know if that'd be smart to pay Odell Beckham, 10, 11, $12 million. We don't know what he's looking like with these two ACLs. So we'll keep an eye on that, but he's not one of the guys I have here. And let's remember, it was Jerry Jones who came out a couple weeks ago, Senior Bowl, and said that they screwed up on the wide receiver position. They screwed up by putting all their eggs in a third-round pick out of South Alabama, not Alabama. They screwed up by putting all their eggs in a hurt guy with an ACL injury. They screwed up. He said that. And then we saw the actions before he said that by trying to go get all these wide receivers. I say let's not do that again. At the very least, I'm not saying you got to go trade for D-Hop. We'll love to have a D-Hop. But at the very least, you need to bring in some guys that can put some heat on some of these other young dudes, because these young guys are going to get a shot. I think they will, especially if this West Coast offense is coming in. But you got to bring in some guys that have done some good things in this league to either A, push some of these dudes off the roster, or B, flat out be a part of the offense. But it has to be a real effort. It can't be, hey, we're going to go get, and no shots fired at you, Toxic Tom. We're going to go get Ryan Nall. Guys like that. No, it has to be guys that you think can actually contribute on this team, and hope for the best, unfortunately. That's kind of where we're at as Cowboy fans. Now, here's the problem. They have to fit in this Catboy criteria. What is the Catboy criteria? The CBC. Number one, and likely the most important thing, you got to be cheap. That's self-explanatory. We don't need to dive into that. You have to be cheap. Number two, underutilized / cast-offs. Now, that will eventually fall under cheap as well, right? But you got to be a guy that has been underutilized somewhere else, or you're just a cast-off somewhere else. The J-Ron Curses of the world, the Carlos Watkins of the world, hell, the James Washingtons of the world, right? And number three, either you're a hurt guy with potential or a hurt guy with a past. Hurt guy with the potential or a hurt guy with the past, and that's a guy like Malik Hooker. That was a hurt guy with potential. Hurt guy with the past is a guy like DeMonte KZ, Anthony Barr. These are the Catboy criteria: cheap, underutilized / cast-offs, or a hurt guy with potential or hurt guy with the past. Well, how do you know that, Scott? Just go look. Go look at the free agents that have been signed over the last decade, if you want to go back that far. You want to go back a half decade? Cool. If you want to go back 3 years, they all fit that mantra. All of them. Every single last one. Usually, some of them fit all three. Some of them fit one. Some of them fit two of the three. But that's how you have to view free agency for the Cowboys, and that's why it's not fun. Because you can't put your mind in the, hey, man, we can go out and get a Zadarius Smith. We can go out and get a Von Miller. Like, you can't really put your mind there because that's not going to happen. So I got three guys. And before I do that, I want to make sure I got this set up right for y'all for this first one. Now, if you're a football fan, you're going to know all three of these dudes. Some people may not, because there are a few of the, or at least one of them that is not a big name or not even close to a big name. Give me a second. I want to make sure I got this. Okay, I get it. I'll get it in a second. Oh, man, I hate when I'm late like this. Boom, boom, bam, pow. All right, here we go. So the first one that fits the Catboy criteria for the Dallas Cowboys, a name that I think a lot of you should be familiar with because the Cowboys played this specific player earlier in the season, and that's Parris Campbell. Now, Parris Campbell is going to fit the very first one, which is the cheap one, right? Like, and he's also been a bit of a hurt guy, but he definitely fits that cheap one. All these guys should relatively fit under the cheap. But Parris Campbell's the youngest of the guys that I'm going to show here at age 25. Played for the Colts last year and played for the Colts his entire career. had a career season last year. 63 receptions, 623 yards, 3 tutties. And most of his production came from the slot. Now, y'all know me. Y'all know what I've been trying to do with CD Lamb for a little bit here. And that's utilize CD Lamb more on the outside. Doesn't have to be exclusive, but a little bit more on the outside. And Parris Campbell played about 82% of his snaps in the slot. So one could say he's a slot. And if you look at his production, most of his production came on receptions 10 yards and in. 64 of his targets were within 10 yards, and he forced 6 missed tackles within 10 yards. He's not a super veteran type of dude, but he's been around. He finally got his shot, and he showed some promise in a porous Indianapolis Colts offense with a bad quarterback. Well, how much is it going to cost? His calculated market value per spot rack or Spotrac is 1 year, $2.5 million. That fits the Catboy criteria.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
So the question to you, Cowboys Nation, is Parris Campbell a guy you would be interested in? I know it's probably not going to excite you, but again, we're looking for guys that can fit, that can contribute, that can have some type of impact on this team, knowing the parameters we're dealt. Are you in or are you out on a potential Parris Campbell target? Are you in or you out? None of these guys are going to move the needle. Like I said earlier, it's love day, but y'all ain't going to love a lot of these dudes. Are you in or are you out? I'm going to have to use this chat. I don't know why Restream's chat been tripping. All right, here we go. Boom, boom. I'm interested, says Elise. King Element says I would. Or Allison, I'm sorry. Steven says no. Big says out. C is out. A1 is in. Michael is out. This is kind of a mixed bag here. Mr. 2306, I like Parris. Greg is out. Danny, this is depressing. Dominique is out. Colin is in. It's about 50-50. King says he got untapped potential. That's fair. It's a no for me, says Professor O. If he can fly, says Aaron. Not really. We need someone who can rival CD a little bit. So Parris Campbell is not going to be a guy I think that's going to play oppo of CD. I think he would be the slot guy. I think, and I talk about this a lot. I would like to see CD play this Z in the West Coast offense. I just would. I think they did the right thing by putting him in the slot his rookie year. They did the right thing by utilizing him all over the field this past season because they had to. But I think it's time to let him settle in somewhere and kind of let him spread his wings a bit. Let's get him on more drags. Let's get him on more mesh routes. And if we want to get him, send him deep. Let's send him deep on these play actions and not just in the middle of the field when it's just a straight line seam. So a guy like Parris will allow you to move CD Lamb on the outside a little bit more and kind of be that primary Z. Which, again, if you do that, you also dictate the coverage of the defense as well. While y'all continue to talk on Parris Campbell, I'm going to jump into the phone lines, get about a call or two in here. The Pulse of the Nation hotline is presented by the Cochran Firm. Since 2005, my guys Larry and Brian over at the Cochran Firm have been holding it down. And if you're in the Dallas area, I know for sure you've probably ran into some issues out there on the roads. My guys got you. If you've been a part of a class action suit or need to be, my guys got you. Hit them up at 1-800-THE-FIRM or give them a free visit or get a visit at CochranTexas.com for your free consultation. Let's get B Bird. I'm sorry. Yeah, B Bird. Let's get B Bird up in here. I know he loves free agency for the Cowboys. What's good, B Bird?
Hey, what's going on? How you doing today, Scott?
I'm good, man.
Hey, man, I want to ask you a question. So we continue drafting like we do, and I think we draft pretty good. and use Catboy criteria to bring in free agents over the next 5 years, do you envision us being in the Super Bowl? If that's the only two things we use and we continue to use it.
History says no. I mean, you would have to catch lightning in a bottle, right?
Yeah. You have to have some things happen, like some QBs maybe for other teams get hurt. It has to be a lot of things that align to get you there. I think what the Cowboys do is build, and they can build only so far that way, with drafting and with cheaper free agents or whatever. So I'll just tell you this. In my mind, I don't use Catboy criteria. I'm not going to let Steven condition my mind. I go and look and see who's the best player out there to get. Because, Scott, I'll tell you this too, man. I did listen to you on 105 because you were on there. You did a great job on that. I didn't get a chance to tell you that.
Thank you, bro.
But one thing Boss says is our voice does matter. And so when you get on those kind of shows, I mean, we gotta take the condition out of our minds of what the Joneses do and start pushing what normal organizations do. We have a huge. If we can get a great wide receiver, and I'm not saying a CeeDee Lamb over there, I'm saying somebody that numbers may rival CeeDee because of the coverage that CeeDee gets. You know what I'm saying? And then that would just balance out our offense. And with the West Coast offense coming in, man, we got a chance to do something special here. I think I think that our wide receiver room was bottom 5 in the league last year. And to go as far as we did, people blame Dak, but when Tony Pollard gets hurt, I mean, you're dealing with one target, one weapon for the rest of the game, and it was just tough on him. We got to have more things. You look at these other teams, and they have way more weapons, to attack a team than we had. So don't want to go to the draft and try to develop. That's a cheap way to do it. I just think that we got to start conditioning ourselves with these free agents that Steven wants or that fits his criteria, and just start talking outside of that.
So we have, for years we have, and it is what it is. Here's the thing. I love Boss's mantra, our voice matters. But I had this conversation yesterday with Vach about the Eagles. And I said, if I had to give advice to Eagles fans, it would be to continue to put pressure on Howie Roseman's neck. Because the difference between the Cowboys and the Eagles structure is that Howie Roseman can be demoted. Howie Roseman can be fired. And he felt that pressure, that pressure of failure, of not replacing, but not bringing in a receiver once they won that Super Bowl. The massive failures of missing out on the Jalen Ragers and the free agents and all that stuff, to the point where the fan base was on his ass. And Howie Roseman saw a sign at one of the games that said, "Howie, you're forgiven for getting us A.J. Brown." He said, "What you mean I'm forgiven? I got you a Super Bowl. You should be thankful." So that means to me, Howie Roseman felt that pressure from them fans. He hears it, he feels it, and he acts on it. Not saying that he's controlled by him, but he feels the heat, right? I get our voice matter thing is an awesome brand, because we do need to speak up. The problem is it falls on deaf ears in Dallas because there is no pressure. You talk about this all the time. Jerry and Steven don't have pressure to be fired. And the proof is in the pudding. 10 years. Since 2012, since they really went out in free agency and did that. Since they really were been active in the trade market. And he loves to go back to 5 years ago with Amari Cooper, as if you have to stop now. You can't do it again for another 20 years. So yeah, I hear you. And the reason why I do this Catboy criteria thing is because I'm not trying to lead you astray. I could come on here and talk about the top end free agents the whole entire show, but damn well that's not where we're going, right? So I'm just trying to find the solutions with given the parameters that they've given us, and I just don't believe, if I scream to the mountaintops, that Stephen Jones is going to change his way. I think it's going to have to come internally. I think it's going to have to be Will McClay stepping out of the box and getting a little bit, testy. It's going to need Dak Prescott. It's going to have to get a bit testy. Michael Parsons is going to have to get testy. Like, these guys are going to have to do it because these guys are on the field and in that locker room. So does that make sense?
And they have a voice also. So you're definitely correct. I'm hoping it comes from Mike McCarthy, which he has pressure on him to win this year. So I'm hoping he's looking and saying, "Hey, look,
Mike
I'm
McCarthy,
not into
another
developing
guy.
guys. Yeah, give me somebody here that can actually play as done in this league." Hey, I have a question to ask you here, and so this is kind of almost like a psychological question. Why? And I think I know the answer to it, but I think we don't really get that deep into it. Why won't they spend in free agents? What's your opinion on that? Why won't they go into free agency like other teams and go after these high ranking free agents? What do you think issue is?
Steven told you he has a false PTSD. He has this weird PTSD of I paid Brandon Carr, it didn't work out, and I just don't understand it because I thought Brandon Carr worked out. Like was he an All-Pro? No, he wasn't an All-Pro, but Brandon Carr played every single game for you. He had like 3 really, really productive years. It wasn't until you brought in an entirely different defensive coordinator that didn't jive what he did to where his play became a little bit iffy. That's not Brandon Carr's fault. He was a locker room. He was loved in that locker room. He was a leader. He was great off the field. He was everything you want when you pay a big free agent, in my opinion. And he wasn't even like, I mean, yes, he got $10 million at the time. That was a lot. But it wasn't like you was breaking records. So I think he has this false PTSD, and that's his excuse. And now the other excuse to add on top of it is, well, we got the pie. You know, we're paying a quarterback. We can't pay everybody. When in reality, your quarterback has only accounted for more than $19 million on the cap one time. Yeah. So, that's all I could say is that I think he is shooketh because of the Brandon Carr situation, and that's his reasoning to not do it.
I definitely agree with you. And one of the things I would say is that we've had some dealings that were, Roy Williams, we had Joey Galloway, and even Brandon Carr. But let's talk about this. That goes back to the structure, and we'll talk about that a lot this offseason because most GMs aren't around to lament a free agent signing that they feel didn't go right 11 years ago. So that's part of it because, like, Howie Roseman or take any other GM off any team, it's like a 5 or 6 year run, and then you move to another team. You don't have time to look back. Hey, you remember back in 2005 when we didn't? That's too long ago. You shouldn't have your job still from 2005, so you shouldn't lament stuff. You shouldn't have a hangover from that long.
Right.
Hey, Scott, but that's all I had, man. And because I'm on the bandwagon of trying to talk to the Bills about Stephon Diggs. That's the kind of player I want. I know it costs a little money, but I'm not getting out of that mindset. That's the kind of guy we should go for. Instant impact, 28 years old. People say, well, we need younger wide receivers, but you got about a 2-year window with Dak. He can be in that window. And I just think going forward, a guy like that or that ilk, go trade. Don't worry about this free agent market. Go trade capital. Don't worry about the other kind of stuff. It's time to go for it now, man. Our quarterback is in his prime. So I just don't. I understand what you have to do too, because it's rooted in reality. But I'm just trying to break out of my mindset of no. Let's just do what other teams have done before, man. And I'm gonna continue to listen to you, Scott. I appreciate you. I appreciate you giving me the time, man.
Thanks, B. Bert. Always excellent conversation. And I don't want you or anyone to break that mindset. That's 100% what I'm not trying to do here. I'm not trying to take you out of that mindset. Think big. Absolutely think big. I just want to present a quality show presented in a little bit of reality as much as I can. Now today, usually when I do these free agency primers, I will have a guy to the side that doesn't fit this mold that I'm all in for. Last year, it was the linebacker cat from, I forget his name, from Atlanta that went and played for the Jacksonville Jaguars. One of the guys I wanted. Cost a lot of money. But I'm going to be honest with you, today is not going to be the time I do that. And here's why. I look at the free agent market in wide receivers, like B. Bird said, and there's nothing there that I'm like, all right, we got to go spend this money to get this guy. There's nobody there. There's nobody there. So today you won't get that part of me, kind of that non-reality option. But for the most part, I try to stay in reality as much as I can because I don't want to be irresponsible knowing how this organization works. But always think big. And I have. I've thought big for years, even here. And then it's like, you know what? I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste your time, so I'm going to try to present a show that's presented in reality as much as I can without being a homer. Like, oh, we're going to go get DeAndre Hopkins. That's what's going to happen. Man, look, I love it. I love it. Let's get one more, and then we'll get to my second guy. Coach Marv, good morning.
What's going on, Sky, man? I'm gonna have to do the counter argument of what y'all saying, and listen, I'm been a long time Cowboy fan, I'm just as frustrated as everybody out there. I think I saw something yesterday, just flipping through YouTube, and I ran across a Eagles YouTube, and they talked about yes, they did a lot this year, but they got 17 free agents and 9 starters on 9 starters. We think they're in a good spot for the longevity.
100% they are. 100%.
I don't think so.
How?
I don't think so. They hold every defensive tackle they got is a free agent.
That's not
half of their secondary.
That's not true. Milton Williams is not a free agent.
And that's about it. Hargrave, the guy they picked up, all those guys are free agents.
Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, nobody's sweating them dudes being gone. What are you talking about, man? Look, listen.
And I love, if you want to talk about getting somebody, Hargrave.
I would
love to have Hargrave.
So you mean to tell me you don't think they're in position to be a quality organization because they got every team has free agents like that? That is part of the
Sky 9 starters.
How many you think we got?
We don't have 9 starters.
We got a handful. We definitely got a handful. It ain't like it's
far off. 9 starters, 2 offensive linemen.
So
2 secondary players.
But we're in February, Coach. Holla at me in April if they don't sign anybody back or address it in free agency. You're talking about an organization that actively goes out there and makes the trades and makes the free agent signings or signs their own guys back. Well, see, I think what we're doing right now is we're petrified low key of what the Philadelphia Eagles are doing. We're trying to find a reason to why it won't work. When in reality, they are fine in the cap wise, and they have 2 first-round picks. You mean to tell me you don't believe that they're not set up? If they're not set up, brother, then nobody is ever set up to do anything successful after the season. If that is like the epitome of being set up. You got a quarterback that can get an extension that the money won't hit for another year, and you've got 2 first-round picks, and you could probably sign some of these veterans back for cheap. And they have cap. They can have cap at the very least. So I don't know. I disagree on that
one. We'll earmark this conversation, guy. 17 free agents, 9 starters. And when you have success,
Dallas had 15 last year,
but not starters. Not these are quality starters for the Eagles.
And what makes you so again? We're in February. Like they can literally sign 4 of those dudes back by the time free agent starts. And now what? Now we're talking about, okay, it's 4 starters. So we gotta push the brakes, man. Pump the brakes and just hold tight, before we're condemning what they've done. Because what they've done, if we're being completely honest, you would be lying to yourself if you would say right now you wouldn't want to be in the financial, draft pick, and personnel situation that they've been in.
I wouldn't.
Wow. Okay.
We will earmark this conversation, Sky. We're going to earmark this with that. I want you to make sure you remember this. I want you to remember this and that. We're going to earmark this. We're going to see how well Howard Rosen is when he works this. Because when you have success for a football team, everybody's going to want top dollar.
Okay.
And you're going to have to allow some people to go.
I would 100%.
And you're going to have to replace them.
And he literally has built up 2 different Super Bowl teams, 2 different coaches, 2 different quarterbacks, and there's only like 6 dudes from that first Super Bowl run. 6. So I would 100% love to have a Howie Roseman over a Jerry Jones or Stephen Jones. Easy money. It ain't even close.
We will see now. I'm telling you, 17 free agents. Sometimes we look at success and we say, well, that's how it goes. But you have to replace these guys. And I think when we talk about the Cowboys, I think we made an interesting point. I think more or less, it's going to be harder to get that way top a tier free agent, because if he doesn't, when we talk about top tier free agents, when they occur in different positions, and I know they're not in the wide receiver position this year, but when they do occur, most times if they are at their top level, they'll either stay with their team because the team cherish them, or they're going to ask for a massive contracts because they're trying to get their pay because they know their status in the league. I think where we're going to have to, if we want to make a move, more likely than sign the free agent, it has to be in the trade market, and we will have to say, we're going to say, hey, we're going to try to get a guy from a team like Philadelphia and find a team that's trying to unload a guy that's a very top-line guy, and we have to give us some draft capital. But they didn't do it. They did it, but because they had already made a previous trade, they have the capital to do it. That's where we probably have to do the wheeling and dealing if we're going to get a top-name guy in here. But at this particular point in time, is this emphasis on Mike McCarthy, as you put up when you put up your free agents up there, is to find the pieces that if we have to work in those restraints of the pieces of things that he cherishes and going to make his offense better. As people talk about, I don't believe this team is as far away as what a lot of people say. I can't say that. I think that's a lot of anxious, and we want to get over the top and want to win those games. But I don't think that this team is so far to the point.
And let me ask you a question. How many times have we said that?
Well, that's not football. That's anxiousness talking when we say how many times we say that. If we talk about football, it's not. But if we talk about the agony of 27 years, yeah, we can say it in that way, and I will say it in that way.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. That's not football. Because the reason why I asked that question is it is football. Because the guys that are making the football decisions are not doing enough to put you over the top. Which is why I would 100% go with the whole all-in approach than what we're doing, than staying, as your guy says, in the middle. Because you know what that's going to do?
Well,
it's going to do this. And I quote Marv. I quote Marv. We're not that far away. I mean, that's the problem. I'd rather either be there or we're sucking and we're getting draft picks so you can recoup on these talented players or trade them. This in the middle thing, I'm over it, coach. Not that far away thing, I'm over it. Let's stop being that far away. Let's be there or not.
I mean, but I'm not saying that we need a lot of players, guys. I'm just saying we might need to make a few moves to get a few players. But I'm not saying that we need to overhaul our whole roster and say we need to get 9 or 10.
Nobody's saying you need to overhaul the roster, but you need to make moves. You need to make aggressive all-in attempts, in my opinion, to get to the pinnacle, because what you've been doing has not been working. Being in the middle has not been working. And the reason why I had to ask you that question was because how many times have we said that and they've done nothing to get over the hump? They just expect the same style of players to get over that hump when no other organization that has been winning over the last half decade is doing that.
Well, I will say this. At this particular point in time, and I understand what you say in the middle, do you classify if you was to rank the teams in the NFL, are we closer to the top or are we closer to the bottom?
Our production has quite literally been in. If you go look at, I mean, it's almost uncanny. If you go look at the actual win-loss, has quite literally been in the middle. Postseason has been one of the worst. We have been one of the worst postseason teams in the last 2 centuries.
I know you're talking about this. I'm saying at this particular point in time.
At this particular point in time, we don't have linebackers. We've got one receiver. We have two. We have what? Offensive lineman. We got, because I'm gonna play this game that you play with the Eagles. We got tons of free agency. We got so at this particular point, you don't want to go there. We got to fill some things up. So I'm not going to talk about this particular point because we got to wait to see what happens in free agency. We got to wait to see what happens in the draft. We got to wait to see what happens with trades. But if you're talking about last year, technically the Cowboys were what? 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th team in the NFC.
The fifth team
in the NFC. Were they not?
Behind who?
The four teams that were in front of them. Also the 49ers who they lost to, the Eagles who went on to the Super Bowl, right? Who else advanced farther than that?
49ers is a good point. I'm glad you brought them up
I'm just saying.
the exact same way that we are trying to build this is the exact same way they do it.
I don't know, man. I'm not content with the way things are.
I don't think the 49ers, they made a trade, but I don't think the 49ers have made a significant free agent pickup in years.
Maybe not, but they got better front office and organization and coaching than we do. You can't live.
You get the last word you just said. If you're going to do this, you got to have quality coaching.
Yeah, I know.
And that is, and I think we on the defensive side, and I believe Mike McCarthy now can say, hey, we can do this on the also. It's all on him and his thing to utilize the pieces that they're there to the utmost. But you got to have that.
Big down. Facts. They quite literally traded for Christian McCaffrey this season, bro.
I mean, it goes back to my point, Sky. There's not you may have to do it in trade where you know you get a guy that's with, but you're not going to go out there and
I
and
know
get
that. I'm not saying free agency is the only. What do I talk about on here all the time? There's 3 pillars.
Right.
There's drafting, there's free agency, and there's trades.
And they found a need of their team, and they addressed that need with a big swing in free agency for that need to try to put them over the top. And that's what I think that we would have to do. We would have to maybe, just like you said, DeAndre Hopkins. If he's disgruntled because they don't even have a head coach and he's disgruntled, we may have to make a swing with that, with some draft capital to make that hit, and then do another trade to get back some of our draft capital by unload somebody to get some picks back later on. That's the wheeling and dealing. But as of going out there and just signing free agents from other teams and getting in bidding wars, where you just throwing it all out there and saying you don't, that's probably not going to be the way. But I think the way they're going to have to come off their philosophy is they will have to make some of the wheeling and deals with draft capital. But I hate to say it, man. A lot of teams out here, they try to rape the Cowboys because they are the Cowboys and ask for more than they would ask for other people. That's crazy, but that's just how it goes.
No, your guys just sucks at negotiations. That's all that is. It ain't getting capital from the Cowboys to the Cowboys. That doesn't make any sense. Like you are what you are in the trade. Like a 5th round pick is a 5th round pick. A 1st round pick is a 1st round pick. It's not like, hey, it's extra juice because it's Dallas. Just Stephen Jones is not good at is not good at his job.
He's not good at his job.
No.
And then what they I hate about this guy. I'll let you go. I know you got a lot of callers, but one of the other things that they do is that hurts a lot of deals, even with trying to get free agents or trade, is they're too public about what they're going after, and that just raises the price when you talk about it. Be quiet and strike big. That's what you need to do. And for it all said and done, but when you start talking about, we looking at this guy, we want to talk to this guy, we want this is the guy we want, and you release all this stuff, you're just pushing the price up.
And how long have we been saying that? Appreciate you, Coach Mar.
Right. All right.
Let's get one more up in here. Reek, what's good, Reek?
Oh, hey, what's going on, Sky? What's going on, Cowboys? How everybody doing this morning? Yeah, man, I just got a little faith this year, man. The reason I got a little faith this year is because I really believed if Mike McCarthy and Will McClay gets in here a little early, Travis Wade, Steven a little bit, I think some things might change. I think a little bit of things are going to change a little bit. For some reason, I just got a little faith. You can call it blind faith, but I just think things are going to change 100%. A little bit because, I know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but at the same time, too, when the last time we had a Super Bowl winning coach in here, or two Super Bowl winning coaches in here. Yeah, Bill Parcells. And that's when we first started to see our little bit of a turnaround with this team. I think that Stephen Jones guy is a body. I think Stephen and Jerry Jones guy is a body, that offensive coordinator. That's a start. I really believe that Mike McCarthy is going to shape this offense to his liking. My thing is like this, like it's not so much I want to emulate what Philly did, you know what I mean? It's so much that I want to emulate a little bit what KC did too, as far as getting rid of people, getting rid of certain people, especially like getting stronger on the offensive line. Because I really believe if you get stronger on that offensive line than what we are now, a little bit younger, a little bit stronger, and that defensive line, I think that we can make other things happen as far as with the draft and going to other people teams getting disgruntled players at the last minute or even during the season. I think we could do some willing and dealing there too. So I'm not gonna be like, not this year. I'm not gonna be like, well, we're not gonna do anything. We might not get all the big name players that we want, but I think they should make some moves this year, man.
You think they should, but you're saying that they will, right? You're saying they're going to do that.
I think it's going to be. I think they're going to shake it up a little bit this year. I just believe that a little bit. That's just me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I said, I'm just shooting a shot in the dark, man.
Hey, it ain't about being wrong. I mean, it's what you believe is going to happen. I'm more of a I'll wait and see because it hasn't happened in a decade. So show me. That's all. I'm asking them to show me.
Yeah, you're right. But that's all I gotta say, Scott. I'm waiting just like you. But I'm gonna put this positive energy out there. Hopefully, we do something this year that makes sense for this next season. But all right, those Scott, highlights you later, player.
All right, man. Peace. Tell you what makes the most sense is these guys signing guys that fit the Catboy criteria. That's just the way it's been working, man. That's just the way they've been doing things. And this next guy that I believe fits the Catboy criteria is not a big name at all, but it fits. And that's wide receiver Mack Hollins, formerly of Philly, ironically. Then went to Miami and last year had another career year I say another career year because Parris Campbell had a career year last year in Las Vegas with the Raiders. Now, Mack Hollins, 57 receptions, 690 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's got 8 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons, by the way. He's trending up as a developing wide receiver. He's not a young pup. He's been in the league since 2017, but he's kind of in that same mode of like a Noah Brown that's been a special teams guy for most of his career, but had a breakout season as a wide receiver. But I don't think you can gloss over the special teams aspect because if you're not going to bring back a Noah Brown, which they should not, Mack Hollins can fill that role, and he's a bigger body. You're talking about a dude that's 6'4", 220 pounds, and he was a special teams ace on all 3 of his teams. He's got over like 900 special team snaps or something like that. Might even be more than that. But another reason why he's an interesting name in this situation is because of that aforementioned size I talked about. If you go back in the history of Mike McCarthy in Green Bay, he likes to draft these big body wide receivers. He just does. If you go back and look at the dudes he's brought in dating back to like 2010 or something like that, you got Jordy Nelson who went 6'3", Jeff Janis who went 6'3". I mean, Devontae Adams is not as big as those dudes, but he's a 6'1" dude, longer guy. EQ St. Brown, 6'5". Valdez Scantling, 6'4". And then in his last draft pick in 2018, Alan Lazar, who broke out, 6'5". And all of those dudes now, not all of them, I shouldn't say that. Most of these guys have been productive. Jordy Nelson is Jordy Nelson, right? Devontae Adams, you understand what Devontae Adams is. Alan Lazard has been productive the last couple of years, and MVS has been productive. So he likes the big body wide receivers, and Mack Hollins fits that big body mold that can also play special teams. And if you're going to run more of this West Coast offense, I think that's why he likes the big bodies, because you need dudes who are going to be able to catch those slant routes and get hit. You need guys who are going to be able to catch those contested back shoulders or contested throws. And these big body receivers give you that bigger catch radius. Well, how much is it going to cost? Not a lot. His projected market value is at $2.4 million.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
So it won't cost you a whole lot. He fits that mold of McCarthy's West Coast built. And he's coming off his most productive season of his career. So Mack Hollins, I can see as a fit and maybe potentially a guy that Bones Fossil might say, hey, he can do a lot of good special teams things for me. Yeah, let's see what's up. He's also a guy that if you do sign him to a cheap deal and he doesn't work out, it doesn't hurt you. And that's something that Stephen Jones loves to do. Right? So Parris Campbell, a Catboy criteria guy. Mack Hollins, another Catboy criteria guy. Let's get my guy B on the horn. What's good, B?
What's happening? What's happening, my G?
What's up with you?
Oh, man, just sitting back listening, man. I was listening, what's his name? Coach Moore.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he was. I said, what's his name? Coach Moore?
Yeah, Coach Moore, yep.
Yeah, man, he was wilding, man. It sounded like he was drinking that Catboy juice, man, over there talking about the Eagles they're not set up for years to come, man. That's absolutely false. And even if they're not.
Yeah, I don't even.
They went to the Super Bowl and lost by 3 points. Yeah. You cannot say that about your team in 27 years. They can say it about theirs 2 times in the past 5 years. What the hell are we talking about?
I absolutely hate even defending that organization, but I just don't know how I can look at their current setup and say I wouldn't welcome that. How could you not? How could you not welcome?
If you're telling me that I'm competing for a Super Bowl every 5 years, sign me up right now.
I mean, look, it could obviously they could fall flat on their face, but they have actual evidence of proof that they can get to the pinnacle, win it, tear it down, and get back in 5 years.
That is, man, and if you're doing that right, that if you building right, man, that's the way you probably. If you go all in, you probably got a 2-year window of going all in, but they're not going all in.
It didn't go all in, And I know we're talking about losing free agents, but the entire National Football League loses quality guys on their team, and also we're in February. Like they could legitimately sign back like 4 of those dudes, and now what? They lost 4 starters. Yeah, most teams do that. So I just say wait. If they don't sign any of those dudes back, if they trade all their first round picks, if they give all the money in the world to Jalen, and it's all affecting their cap right now. And they do what the Cowboys did, which is go sign a James Washington and a Ryan Nall and a Dante Fowler. Yeah, then the conversation shifts. But as it stands, Howie Roseman has proven that he can tear it down and build it back up. They only had a handful of dudes from the previous Super Bowl on this team. The proof is in the pudding. And I hate defending that organization, but I just personally think either it's the hate of the organization or you're lying to yourself if you say you would rather be in the situation we're in and not theirs.
That's a fact, man. And they still have A.J. Brown, who they just got. They got a young Devontae Smith on a rookie deal.
Dallas Goedert.
They got Jalen Hurts on another deal on a rookie deal. Like I don't understand that one. And their defensive, they have a lot of players that are locked up on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, they're going to get paid. Everybody gets paid. But, man, when it just comes to these boys, man, like me, I sit back and I just hope that the Cowboys remove their ego. Because sometimes I think when they're doing these deals and in the offseason, they're trying to prove that they're smarter than everybody else and trying to win these deals instead of just making a good deal. And it's like
I like that, the way you put that.
You know what I'm saying? It's like they be on that BS, and it's like, man, just make the deal. Like the J-Ron Curse situation last year. That should not have took that long. I'm sorry, Sky, it shouldn't have took that long.
But they wanted to win the deal, and people will say they won it.
Exactly. That is my point. You were trying to win that J-Run deal when you were playing around, and all it would have took was one team. Just one team, because as far as I know of, he hasn't gotten that bag like that from an NFL standards, and he wanted to be in Dallas, and you were playing around and you were playing games trying to win a deal.
Well, that's just one example, but
$4 million?
But can't you can also apply that to the trade market. I think they always want to win the deal unless it's Mark Cooper and their feelings are involved. But they want to win the deal and they miss out on potential things. And I'm not saying, when I say win the deal, I'm not saying you just give away 2 first-round picks all the time. No. That's not what I'm talking about. But I think there was a situation with the Brandon Cooks thing where it's like y'all wanted to win that one. It got a little bit shooketh, and you missed out, you know?
Right. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you're right. That is another example, man. But I just hope, like, to me, what's going to take them to actually be successful in the offseason and be a little more aggressive is they have to remove their pride and their egos. Because I told you last year, I thought re-signing Michael Gallup to a multi-year deal was a mistake. And I know me and you went back and forth about it. He was like, B, it's $12 million. Like, this is a good contract. You can get out of it after 2 years. I'm like, Scott, I just think if you sign up to a 1-year deal coming off that injury, he won't sniff $12 million after coming off that. Because I didn't believe he was going to be that player when Amari Cooper left.
Talking about Gallup?
It's different. Yeah. Because you got Coop and you got CD, and then you got this tight end that the quarterback loves, and then all you got to do is go catch 2 for 35 in a touchdown. It's different. And if you look at Michael Gallup, I just don't believe he's that guy in that position for this team. And if you're going to go sign Odell Beckham, let's just say you go sign OBJ and you pay him $8 million a year. Just $8 million a year. Who do you think is going to be the second best receiver on this team, Odell or Michael Gallup? If Odell was at his best, what he was for the Rams, who's going to be the second best wide receiver?
That ain't even close.
Okay. My point exactly. So now you're paying $12 million for a third wide receiver. That's not managing your cap.
And
I thought that.
So that's perfect that you brought that up, B. That is also another. I was waiting for somebody either in the call in or chat to bring up some of these other names, some of these, the Sharks, the Lazards, Jujus. When you look at their market value, you're looking at 14, 12, $9 million. That ain't happening for that exact reason that you brought up, right? You're talking about now having to potentially pay CD Lamb X amount of dollars, then paying, Michael Gallup what he's getting paid on top of another $12 to $14 million for another receiver. I don't see that happening. Maybe the only way you do that is if you go ahead and exercise that 5th round tenure or 5th round option or whatever on CD Lamb, and you don't pay him again until the end of that 5th year. And then you go ahead and you just deal with this free agent that you signed. But I just don't see it, man. They had their shot to do that, right? They had their shot to keep a Amari Cooper, and if they wanted to sign Michael Gallup, I guess they could have, but that would have been silly. And they decided to tell us the reason why they didn't, which I don't believe it, is because of money. So they're gonna go back on there.
That pisses me off with that one. That pisses me off because Jerry Jones talks out of both sides of his face.
So imagine if they go out.
On one hand, if you listen, he talks about them saving money and getting all these other guys signed by letting Randy Gregory go. But then he switches it to, if we let him, by letting Amari Cooper go and trading him and not having to pay him this money, we were allowed to sign these free agents.
Who?
If I'm not mistaken, exactly. If I'm not mistaken, the Cowboys spent about $7 million combined on free agency this year.
Yeah, they didn't.
It's roughly. It wasn't even $10 million on free agents. And so when you sit here and you like, hold on, you let Randy Gregory go to do that, and you let Amari Cooper go to do that. It's like if you listen to him, it's one or the other. It switches. It's like, which is it? We know you lying. We know you got rid of Coop because he didn't take the jab, and you blame the losses of the Chiefs and the Raiders on him for not being available. And we know that was personal. But you know what? At the end of the season, and I hate to jump from receiver to this, the owner told you what it was. He said, we're going to go as far as Zeke takes us. And he really believed that, right? And where did Zeke take you in the playoffs? Nowhere. And where did you go? Nowhere. So he told us, we just didn't listen. And so it's that stuff right there, man. It's just like, even the general manager giving up the power, you shouldn't even put it in a segment. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Just make better decisions.
Yeah,
you're better decisions about your football team, man. To give yourself just be a little more aggressive. It's one thing if you're going to give Dan Quinn a guy that's a C- player in free agency. I trust him to find a role for guys like that. the offensive side of the ball, I don't believe you can do that. You can't do that. With these guys.
Not as it was constructed. I don't believe so. It's only so far
right.
you can go with as it was constructed, man. But yeah, fantastic stuff, B.
My man, I'll tap in with you next week, man. I'm gonna keep listening, man, for the rest of the week, man, and see what's going on. And you get into some draft stuff next week, man. I'm gonna tap in with you, man. But it's always good to chop it up with you, my G.
Always, brother. Appreciate you.
My man.
Just make better decisions. Been saying this to y'all forever. I'm not asking these dudes to spend $200 million in free agency. I'm not asking them to trade all their first round picks. I'm just asking them to show legitimate, real effort. Like, I don't care how much of a homer you are. You are lying if you believe they actually have shown legitimate effort in the trade and free agency market. You know they have. So we're hoping like hell Semi Fehoko can develop, right? And the Tobers can develop, and then the defensive players and all these players can develop and take that next step to basically mitigate what they don't do in the trade and free agent market. That's the hope. That's kind of where we're at with it. Or maybe they sign one more guy at the receiver position that isn't an unknown, that has been around for about a decade in this league. And he should fit in the Catboy criteria. He doesn't quite fit all the way there. Like, he's not a hurt guy, although he's been hurt. He might not be that cheap. Be cheap enough. He damn sure ain't a cast-off, although he's been on multiple teams, but not because he's a cast-off. The guy's Marvin Jones Jr. Marvin Jones Jr. could be kind of a T.Y. Hilton-esque of a player, where he's a veteran in a locker room that has young guys at the position. He's been proven in this league. He's played a decade, and 7 of those 10 years, he's had 700-plus yards. And 4 of those years, he's had 9 or more touchdowns. So he's been productive. He's been reliable. He's a smooth target. He can do inside-outside things for you. He's a smooth route runner. Reliable guy, essentially. His first year in Jacksonville 2 seasons ago, 800-some yards. You know, it was a reliable target for a Trevor Lawrence. And then they went out and they spent some money, got a Zay Jones. They got a Christian Kirk. So his production took a bit of a step back last season. His targets took a step back, as they would. But I don't think Marvin Jones is going to cost you a whole lot, given that he is now a 10-year veteran and he's not that guy. And his market value is $3.4 million.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
So he fits that cheap Catboy criteria, not the super cheap, not the $1 million, not the $3.4 million. That would probably be, and I don't even know how much they paid Crandall Cobb in 2019. I had to go back and look. That'd probably be the most that they've paid an outside free agent receiver. I don't even think they paid James Washington that much money since Randall Cobb. So when you talk about Catboy criteria targets, don't get your hopes up for an Allen Lazard. Even a DJ Shark, whose market value right now is at close to $10 million. These are the type of guys that Stephen Jones is going to give his Uber Eats list to, give Will McClay his Uber Eats list to, and say, hey, go find me these type. We did the same exercise last year, and we came away with James Washington, a Catboy criteria guy.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money.
I go a step farther, Ron. Semi might have a higher ceiling as a receiver, but they are definitely two big body dudes. Mack is, as you say, developed. Special teams dude, been around multiple organizations. Semi just is a more explosive athlete, but I think, again, we talked about this already before. Semi has the shot in this scheme to take the next step. He has the shot. Get us some super chats. I got you, Aaron.
Super chat.
Lemitra says D Hop probably makes the same as Catboy a year. Okay. Let me get to some more that I might have missed earlier. Tyrone dropped one.
Super chat.
He said Micah's hitting the weak spot on the defense for sure. I mean, he know what it is. He know exactly what it is.
Super chat.
Cameron said, I appreciate you and Vach. Y'all got me through a deployment. Hey, man, salute to you, Cameron. I said Cameron because Dipset. Toxic drop one, says, sorry for being toxic yesterday. I was wrong for that.
Super chat.
Don't apologize for being you, brother. Don't apologize for being you. Appreciate you. All right, let's get a couple more callers and we'll get up out of here. Got my guy Mel on the horn. What's good, Mel?
Man, what up, King? Dog, all these guys just look like James Washington Part 2. Like, am I wrong? Like,
No.
I'm like,
no, they are Catboy criteria guys. But am I wrong for presenting what the Cowboys have been doing since 2018 at that position?
Man, but tell me
Deontay Thompson, Allen Hurns, James Washington. I mean, the best one there was Randall Cobb.
Oh my, man, we need this is not what CD's asking for. CD said, hey, we need some hogs in here. None of these dudes is hogs. None of these dudes is go get it, man. Like, we need another. This ain't it.
Hey,
This
dog.
ain't, who the hell is Mark Hollins? Who'd you say?
Mark Hollins, timeout.
Who?
Mack Hollins.
Mack Hollins.
With all due disrespect, goddamn, man. Mack Hollins, bro. Mark Hollins.
Oh, no, man. We need some hogs, man. None of these dudes is it. None of these dudes is it.
Look, this might be one of the. So when we do our Catboy criteria, this might be one of the ones. This is one of the worst ones because the free agent market for the receivers is not good, dog. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I usually will provide about one or two dudes that don't fit this that can get us excited. I can't even do that for you, brother. Not with the wide receivers in this free agent market. There ain't none.
Oh my God, this is disappointing.
This is Phil Collins.
I'm looking for free agent wide receivers. Let's see what. Who?
No, brother.
Oh man, hey, what would it take, man, to really go get like a D Hop? What would it take realistically?
Ladies, close your ears. I don't want to be disrespectful. It's gonna take some balls.
Man, this is good.
Am I lying? I mean, it's risky because he's older, he's expensive. You're gonna give up draft capital, so it's going to take a little bit of risk. You got to be willing to risk it. And Jerry talked about if there was a guy, he'd been saying that for I don't know how many years though. If there was a situation, if there was a something out there for me to do it, I would certainly pick up that phone. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And really what he means by situation is extremely advantageous money-wise. Like, the thing that's kind of frustrating, Sky, and when you say be aggressive and go for it, like you just said, you're not saying, hey, trade all your first-round picks. You're not saying spend the whole cap. But can you at least make some moves? You know what's funny? They never trade up in the draft. They always trade back. Like the Cowboys, they want you to focus on the fact that they traded back and still got Micah rather than they traded up and got Patrick Surtain. And I'm not saying that I would not still rather have Micah here, but they want you to see like, oh, we don't have to be aggressive and we can still do something good. Because the guy they wanted, and we can honestly sit here and say they wanted one of the corners. That's really what they wanted in that draft. And once that didn't happen, then they were like, all right, well, we'll settle for Micah. Because they didn't know Micah was going to be what he is.
I mean, they've traded up. They traded up for Dez. They traded up for Mo. I mean, they've traded up in the draft. What I would like to see them do is is be able to trade and then recoup another first, right? Like that'll be cool to go into the next draft with like 2 first-round picks. Now you can use that to go get you to play that type of game. They are pretty basic. They'll trade down a couple spots or they'll get fleeced in the trade. Now I think they got fleeced in the Travis Frederick trade, where they traded from like, was it the teens or I think it might have been the teens or the early 20s. Maybe it was the teens. Yeah, the teens. They weren't in the playoffs. All the way to 31st, and they only picked up a 3rd-round pick. Now, it worked out because Travis is Travis, but I think they got fleeced. So I would love for them to be able to put themselves back in the situations kind of like where they were when I think was it Bill and what's the name was here, where they were getting 2 first-round picks. I think they had twice in a 5-year span.
Bill 1 year, yeah. Well, he got
DeMarcus Ware and Spears. Yeah, Ware and Spears, and then he had Jenkins and Felix Jones. Like I'd much rather see that kind of maneuvering than hey, we picked up an extra.
Than what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I know it's bad, man. When I'm actually hearing my guy Vach is actually like, man, we need some free agents. I'm like, Vach is over here now. Because he used to just be like, hey, just draft where you are. He's even like, yo, bro, we need some free agents in here, man. Ah, damn, this is well, at least we got Mike McCarthy's system coming in. I'm excited to see what that's going to be, man, and hopefully, he can make the best of the situation, man.
He's kind of back in his Packer days, man, where the Packers would not go sign a bunch of guys. They would not trade for a bunch of guys. They said draft and develop. And Mike, that's what Mike's been saying here, draft and develop. And I don't really see that changing. So
I remember when they asked him about the call on top, he said, well, what we're doing here is we're drafting and developing, and that's kind of what comes with it.
Yeah, that is. And that's why we have to look at Catboy criteria guys, man. Who are these guys in this small window that can come in here and fit a specific role and provide some productivity? Are they going to move the needle? No. But can they be productive given the right circumstances? Yes.
Yeah, well, go Cowboys.
I can't do it.
All right, Scott.
Hey, I watched a little bit of that. It sounds like the same stuff we've been seeing from the other former quarterbacks, but I'm gonna finish watching it later on.
Oh yeah, man. Same thing. It's nothing new. Yeah. It's just more confirmation.
Yeah.
More confirmation.
All right, brother.
Yeah. All right, brother. Thanks for letting me tap in.
Yes, sir. Damn, y'all. I didn't mean to make this a depressing type of show. My bad. My bad. But I don't want to come on here and lie to y'all. Like, Catboy criteria: D-Hop, Keenan Allen, Stephon Diggs. Would have been fun. Would have been more fun to talk about those dudes than to talk about these guys. So I get it. But I don't want to lead y'all astray. Well, Sky said we can go get D-Hop for a 5th-round pick because of Amari Cooper. No. Sky didn't do that. All right, let's get a couple more up in here. 214, what it do?
Hey, what's up, Sky? This is Star.
What's good, Star? I got some time. You got some time away from the bench.
Yeah, got some time this morning. I'm glad I caught you because I didn't wasn't able to tune in while you were live yesterday. But just going off of, I think it's great what you did. Putting your presentation together about these are the guys that Stephen Jones is going to go after, because that's likely true. We usually flirt around with those types of free agents that are only going to cost us about $3 million, and those are the wide receivers in the market that cost that. The only silver lining I think that we can look at is that we were on the phone before the trade deadline this year, trying to get Brandon Cooks, trying to get Jerry Jeudy. So I do think that the front office would be willing to go get a name, because they were. And I think they were this close. They were very close to getting Brandon Cooks. The issue was taking on that whole salary. So if there's some
And
possible
there
way,
you
go ahead.
go. You said it right
Yep.
there. Their issue
Yep.
was what?
The salary.
Okay.
So
Does
because
that
they
issue
did not want
change?
to pay, right? And that's what it's gonna. It's just like what you said about Steven. He's gonna have to go from baby nuts. He's gonna have to get some balls because that's the only way we're gonna be able to secure. Even with OBJ, it's likely gonna be a bidding war when he comes out. I think Dallas, obviously, they always have the upside because this is Dallas. Every player wants to come to Dallas. So you have that upside, but you're going to have to offer some real money, and that's the issue that we're always facing. I agree with the Bees who was saying, it's ridiculous that we're paying Michael Gallup $12 million. I think his cap hit next year is like $16 million. He's our third wide receiver. I mean, it really was not. I understand you can get out of it in 2 years, but paying somebody that came off of that injury like that, and basically you're going to bring in another person and going to have to be paying them right around the same money or a little bit less. It's going to be kind of weird for an OBJ to know he's getting paid less than a Michael Gallup.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. He could look at that and say, I think that was so mismanaged, man. It was so mismanaged, and I say this a few times, Star. People get upset at Dak's contract, which again he has not cost you a ton on the cap just quite yet.
Right.
But I think the two contracts that we really should be frowning on is the Zeke and the Michael Gallup deal, and obviously Jalen, but he's not here anymore. But those deals were just like, what are you doing?
Those were horrible deals. Like the most Michael Gallup should be getting is maybe I would say $8 to $10 mil a year
somewhere else.
I believe,
let him get that somewhere else.
Somewhere else. Like we should. I would not. I thought it was a mistake. And for Steven to say, "Oh, if we kept Amari, we wouldn't have been able to sign Michael Gallup," and we're all thinking the same.
We're like, yeah, that's what we wanted to do.
Exactly, because we could have had Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and then you could draft Jalen Tolbert. That's a pretty decent, with Noah Brown being the fourth or the fifth. And I hope to God they don't bring Noah Brown back. I think he's a great guy, but I think somebody else can fit that fourth. Somebody more explosive can fit that 4 to 5 wide receiver role. I don't know. I know he's a favorite, and it's like he's probably going to cost $2, and that's right up Stephen's alley to bring back. But I really hope we don't bring him back. But that's a different argument. But I did want to go. I'll just say this based off because I think Coach Marv, he called in before I got on, but the caller was like, I don't understand how he's saying Philadelphia is not set up. Because he's been saying that basically this is like a lightning in a bottle year for Philly, and that they're not going to get back to this pinnacle just,
I mean,
we'll be back next year.
He didn't say that. I mean, maybe he was implying it, and I'm not even saying that's a guarantee that it'll happen. But to say that they are not set up for quote unquote the long run, which, see, this is the condition that we're conditioned, right? We're always thinking long run in Dallas. We're never thinking about trying to win right now. But to say they're not set up for the long run, I still think is false because they got 2 first-round picks. They got a quarterback that their cap hit, if they extend them, won't have to be, massive for a couple seasons, and they'll have cap.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, it definitely – I do think the only way that Philly – this is my opinion. With Jalen Hurts, are you going to – because Jalen Hurts, he's going to get – you're talking about $50 to $55 million APY. Now, his cap hit is not going to be – just like Dak's, it's not going to be immediately $50 million.
Right.
So it's going to probably take a couple of years before it gets to that, and I'm sure they're restructured. But the issue with Jalen Hurts is a huge part. See, Dak always, when he was in 2016 Dak, 2017 Dak, his mobility was a part of his game, but it wasn't, you would say more maybe 70-30, maybe even 40-60. But when you're dealing with somebody like Jalen Hurts, it is literally 50-50, or you could even say 60-40, running, 40 passing.
Right.
So when you talk about that's just such a huge, huge part of his game.
Right now,
are we really going to pay him $50 to $55 million?
Yes.
And then still have him running that much?
So you're going to pay him.
Go ahead.
Period. What you're
I'm like, they're going to pay him, but I'm right.
What you're
like,
hoping.
They're going to pay him for sure.
Yeah. What you're
go
hoping
ahead.
for and what you want to see is that he continues to develop as a passer. I have no issues with how they used him early in his career because
this year.
Period. It's his entire career. I have no issues with how they've been using him because they have to help with that learning curve. The easiest way for a quarterback like that that's still developing as a passer and still developing what he's seeing is to utilize his athletic ability early. You know, that's just part of the development. And as he's developing as a passer, then you have to use his legs less. The need to use his legs less because it wasn't like Jalen Hurts was out here being Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson. He averaged like 5 yards per carry because he did a lot of quarterback sneaks and he got all those touchdowns in the red zone for the most part. So his legs were literally being used like a running back as opposed to a quarterback who was busting off these big runs. So if he continues to develop as a passer, then the need to use his legs diminishes. That's what the hope is, you know.
Right. That's exactly what the hope is. But it's like if he does it, if this is, maybe he gets slightly better, but he doesn't really progress that much as a passer, then you're going to have to see another situation, which how we can do it because he got rid of Wick after 4 years.
That's just the risk you take. I mean, but you don't even think that way. Because that's just the risk you take at the quarterback position when you've got a quarterback like that. Right. All right, if it don't work out, I've shown you in the world that I can dump a guy that's getting paid and start over.
Yeah, I'll get rid of you. Yeah, that's the difference between a Jerry and Steven. Howie can get rid of you and flip it. Now, old Jerry could get rid of you and flip it, get a lot of draft capital. But Howie,
he can't. That's another issue that I did a study on. The Cowboys have not made a quality, I don't know what the term to use, like trade out. They haven't made one of them ones. They haven't we recouped the first round pick. We recouped the second and the fourth. They haven't made one of those ones in I don't know how long, man. It's maybe since Herschel Walker. Yeah, it might be since Herschel Walker, bro. Or sis, my bad. Yeah. But listen, maybe he needs to get a little bit of that. We've seen Bill Belichick do it. They've traded guys and recouped second-round picks or whatnot and third-round picks. And I don't think Dallas is – I did a study last year. I got to find that graphic. The Cowboys have not secured, I don't think, anything higher than like a fifth. Seriously.
Yeah. For some reason, our team cannot flip these players and get draft capital back. So that's also an issue. But – if we're looking at the last, since 2019, first-round draft picks that the Eagles have got, it's been Andre Dillard, Jalen Reagor, Devontae Smith, Jordan Davis. So they're more so a hit and miss. They do have 2 first-round draft picks. And
A.J. Brown.
That's what I say. They're hit.
Don't forget that.
Well, they got A.J. Brown through
a first-round pick.
Right? Right. So they flipped it, and they used that first-round pick to get A.J. Brown. So I think that's what they're better at. So they can actually – they're not the greatest at drafting. Like I said, it's hit and miss. But they could take that pick, and they could flip it. They could bring in another big household name. So I don't know. I think we just have to see what the Eagles – just like you said.
That's what I said, right? Yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, so I agree with you. I think I get what Coach Marvin is saying because it's possible that it couldn't. They just lost Shane Steichen. And remember, Sirianni was calling plays last year, but he gave it up to Shane this year.
I'm hoping they lose the quarterback coach because if he becomes a play caller,
they're saying he basically first in line to be OC.
Then I don't think you're going to see their offense get worse.
So it's not going to tail off. And the Eagles fans want to get rid of Gannon because they said that's the main problem. He's awful. We need to get rid of him. So if they get rid of him, so Eagles may stay afloat, but it's all. We just have to wait and see what is front office going to do in this offseason. Are they going to do anything different? Are they going to keep going to Marshalls and getting bottom of the barrel and hoping that they get a J-Ron Curse, hoping that they can find someone that they paid $2 million to come in and be a huge impact. But I hope we do go after a D-Hop. I'll take OBJ. Somebody with a proven track record that can really come in. And I still want to draft a wide receiver, but somebody with a proven track record. And I'm also interested in offensive lineman McGlinchey over there in 49ers land. I would love to get him. I don't know if they're going to do it because I think he's like 20 million. I think
Interesting.
he's going to cost a lot of money. But, would I love to get him and add him to this line. Just
And put him where?
49ers.
Out of curiosity, where you want to put him?
McGlinchey, I think he's a
Right tackle.
honestly, yeah, he's a right tackle. So honestly, you can put him. I mean, I personally would probably, and I know people say don't touch Tyler,
You flip him?
but I think if you put, yeah, I would flip him. I would flip McGlinchey because I don't know. I have to look and see, do they cross train over there? Because I don't know if McGlinchey can play left tackle. He might can't.
I think
and if he can't,
and draft people
go
can
ahead.
correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like he played some at Notre Dame. I could be
Notre
wrong.
Dame. Okay.
But he might have played some
Right.
left tackle at Notre Dame.
Because if he can, it would just bring another strength. But, I mean, I'm perfectly fine with Tyler staying at the left tackle because he did an amazing job. And he exceeded our expectations because we didn't know what he was going to
sure.
do, and he just continued to progress throughout the season.
Yep.
But if we could add just another proven veteran dog, because that's my big just like Bob said yesterday, I want to strengthen our offensive line more than anything. I want weapons. I want the tackles. I want the guys that we should just bolster up, but I really, really want to make our offensive line top 5 again.
And
so however
D-line.
we can get
And D-line. I want the
and
trenches
D-line
to be featured
to be
more than anything.
solid. If we could do that, because if you look at Philly, that's how they won. That offense, that's how they kept winning games. That offensive line and that defensive line was
Hey,
nasty.
not just Philly. I know we've been talking about Philly all day today, but look on the other side of the ball. The Kansas City Chiefs offensive line won the game.
Is top 5. Yeah, that offensive line is top 5. Like we've got to, if that Jerry, Steven, y'all said Dak is our franchise. Y'all said we want him here 10 more years. All this stuff y'all said. It's time to solidify that. I'm tired of just it's been okay. It's pretty good. No, I'm talking about elite of the elite, top 5 offensive line. So however we can get there, that's what I want. That's what be. If I was GM, I'm coach. That's my main focus this year. The weapons and all that stuff, we can figure that out. But we've got to get that offensive line back to elite status. But anyway, Scott, you let me talk for like 6 a long time, so I'll let you go. But thank you for letting me call in. And you have a good day. Happy Valentine's Day. I don't know if you celebrate it, but if you do, I hope you have a good day, man.
You as well, Star. Great call as always, and feel free to call back in anytime. Good stuff from Star. I can't ever remember. I should have told her to say her name for the socials. But, yeah, when she calls back in, I'll make sure I get you guys her social stuff. But great stuff there, and I'm with you. The trenches, to me, it should be the focus. Eventually, we'll talk about running backs. We're talking about skilled players today. We'll get to tight ends. But if you can solidify those trenches on both sides of the ball, it makes everything easy. It makes your life easier. Hell, it's why Michael Parsons is bringing up Calais Campbell, Deron Payne. That's why now, we're kind of we've already shifted from this. It's why most of us are talking about just beef up the offensive line and you can draft a running back on day 2 or day 3. I don't need to draft a Bijan Robinson. And if you go listen to some of these other analysts out there, the ones who are the Daniel Jeremiahs, the Dane Bruglers of the world, all of them are saying this is a loaded running back class, which could work against Bijan Robinson. Because what if guys say, okay, yeah, he's a great player, but I can get me a guy in round 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not saying he's going to last that long, but it could work against Bijan. So, yeah, build up the trenches, Star. I'm with you. 100%. Good stuff. Let me see if we got any more supers, and we're going to get up out of here. Can't get to all the callers, man. I'll be here for all morning. Okay, I think we got to all of them. The last one was Aaron saying that Mack Hollins is literally a developed semi, for sure. All right, let me jump into the chat for a little bit, and we gone. It's kind of hard to read because it's smaller. Jason says, best running back to come in 2-3 rounds in the long run. Isaiah Pacheco, exactly Texas T, 7th rounder. So true Cowboys fan 1972. He said they gave up the least sacks in the last 7 years. The pass blocking rate stuff is computer generated. I don't think that is necessarily the case. Yes, whatever you want to say, computer generated. But if you actually go put on the film and watch, your quarterback avoided a lot of sacks by either A, getting the ball out, B, moving around. I think this was his best year maneuvering the pocket of his career. If you want to go see the night and day difference, go look at 2018, which was a better offensive line, and look at this year. He took the most sacks. 2018? It was 2018. 2018, he took the most sacks of his career that year. Compared 58 sacks, something like that, compared to now, because he wasn't able to maneuver the pocket in a way that a veteran quarterback should do. And he was a third-year pro at that time, but now he's a 7-year pro. So I think Dak had a lot to do with not taking a lot of sacks. And let's just be real. Those guys are better run blockers, and I'm talking about the Terrence Steeles, the Tyler Smiths of the world, and the Zach Martins. Those guys were better run blockers this season than before. That's not to say that they were, I know they were 30th or whatever it was in pass block win rate, but they weren't David Carr bad, right? Remember when David Carr was getting sacked all the time? But they just weren't the greatest of the pass blocking, which it is what it is. You're not going to be great at both unless you're that Philly line. Like, not too many teams are going to be great at both. So I ain't mad at them. I just think that's just the way that it was built. But another year of Tyler Smith, another year of Terrence Steele, Tyler Biadasz continuing to improve. I expect the pass blocking to get better. West Coast offense gets the ball out a bit quicker. I expect the pass blocking to be a bit better. I do. I mean, hell, Tyler Smith has so many holds at left tackle this year. Maybe that was another reason why he didn't get a lot of sacks. He was on pace for like 18 penalties. I think he finished with roughly 11 or something like that. DJ's World drop one.
Super chat.
He says Darius Slayton has a market value of 3.5, and he would be well suited as a second or third option. He's also younger, being only 26. Darius Slayton is another option. So that's why I also like to do 3 guys, because y'all guys can throw some names at me as well. Professor O threw 2 names out. That the way I do this, when I try to go find a Catboy criteria guys, I write down more than 3. I usually have about a list of like 6 or 7, and then I dive in on those guys. Juwan Jennings and OZ is what I call him, because I can never pronounce his name right, from Atlanta. They were actually on my list of like 5, 6, or 7 dudes. So then I dove in to all of them, and I came away with, where we at here? With these 3 as the Catboy criteria guys. But Darius Slayton, Juwan Jennings, they also fit that Catboy criteria. I don't think DJ Shark fits it because of the cheap aspect, but he does fit the injury guy aspect. He 100% fits the, is he a hurt guy with potential? That's DJ Shark. But his market value is listed at over $9 million, and I just can't see Stephen Jones paying outside free agent $9 million per year annually, and he's a hurt guy. Has been a hurt guy. I do want some speed as well, man, and I think I can get that in a draft. Only thing about Juwan, I think when I did deep dive into the Juwan Jennings thing, though, Professor O's, I think he's a exclusive rights free agent. So I don't think he was available. I think that's why I scratched him off. I think he was an exclusive right free agent. McCole Hardman is another one. Would love a McCole Hardman. In fact, if I'm being completely honest, if they were to actually go out and say, okay, we're not going to spend $3 million, $5 million, $6 million. We're willing to spend $9 to $12 million. I'd actually go get McCole. His market value is at about $11 million. So that's why I didn't list him on here as Catboy criteria. He doesn't fit. He's not cheap, and they're going to be paying whoever gets McCole if he gets the market value. You're talking about $11 million annually. I just don't see Stephen Jones doing that. Yeah. I didn't think that either, Chris. Let me just confirm that. I want to make sure I'm telling you all the wrong thing, but I'm almost sure Hardman's. Hold tight. I'm sorry, 10.3. So it's $10.3 million, 4 years, $41 million. So still, same thing. If we were willing to go to the 9 to 12 range, I'd like to get Miko. But at $10 million, I don't think Stephen Jones would do it. I don't think he'd do it. Also, we haven't put the guys that could come back. The T.Y. Hiltons of the world, and I know Noah Brown, but those are options too. T.Y. is an option. Noah Brown is going to be an option. It just is what it is. Good stuff. Good stuff. Chris said, what about Higgins? T. Higgins, I'm guessing, or Marquez Callaway? Are you talking about MVS? MVS is, if you go look at his, it's crazy because I think his is actually 11. But let me go see. And he just won a Super Bowl. You know how that go. You win a Super Bowl, your price goes up a little bit. Trying to find him, my bad. How the hell is he? Isn't Valdez Scantling a free agent? Or am I tripping? I guess he's not a free agent. My bad. He was a free agent last year, that was for sure. But I definitely thought he was a free agent now. All right. Let's get up out of here, man. If you enjoyed this show today, the very first edition of the Free Agent Primer, hit that like button on your way out. Share today's show. So Cowboys fans out there that, this is free agent time. If you go into the barbershop, you go to work, and we start talking about all these other players, you can tell them, listen, man, that's not how we operate. If you want to know how we operate, check out this program. Share it with your friends, families, and foes. Also, later on, I'll be on with Vosh Lombardi on the Vosh Lombardi Live show on the Volume. And tonight, Mo will be back on for the A to Z Sports Primetime. Make sure y'all check that out. Also, if you're one of 39 million men who suffer from ED, make sure you hit up Boston Scientific. They created edcure.org to help you find your best cure. Again, that's edcure.org, presented by Boston Scientific. It's easy. It don't got to be hard, but you can be. Shaq, I do like McCole Hardman because he presents speed. The Cowboys seem to ignore speed, and I think he'd be a great speed option. But I don't know about $10, $11 million. I'm going to say this. I don't know for them about $10, $11 million. But if I was just running things, I'd go get him. He's a hurt guy, though. He's a hurt guy. Something to keep in mind. All right, let me hit this button. Get up out of here. Y'all can enjoy the rest of y'all Tuesday. Y'all, non-Philly Super Bowl champion Tuesday. I ain't letting this go. Shout out to the Bomb Squad. Appreciate y'all for being here. Shout out to the chat. The calls. Fantastic calls today. Good conversation. And appreciate the donations. I will see y'all tomorrow morning. We out here. Peace.